Long before cities, before nations, before language had shape or grammar, there was a fragile species standing at the edge of extinction. Early humans were not kings of their world. They were vulnerable, exposed, and constantly watched by predators that were faster, stronger, and better adapted to the brutal rhythms of prehistoric Earth. Survival was not guaranteed by intelligence alone. Every day was a gamble, every night a test of endurance. And yet, within this uncertainty, a single decision would quietly reshape the destiny of our species. The African savanna millions of years ago was vast and unforgiving. Grasslands stretched endlessly beneath a sky that offered no mercy. The sun burned during the day, draining energy and water, while darkness brought fear, cold, and unseen danger. Early humans lived close to the ground, their senses tuned to movement, sound, and scent. They were hunters at times, scavengers at others, always alert, always cautious. Their lives revolved around food, shelter, and the simple goal of surviving another sunrise. Among these early groups, curiosity was both a gift and a risk. To explore was to learn, but also to expose oneself to danger. A strange sound, an unfamiliar smell, a sudden glow in the distance could mean opportunity or death. Nature did not forgive mistakes easily, yet curiosity persisted. It always had. One day, in a moment that history would never record but humanity would forever feel, early humans encountered something unlike anything they had known before. Fire was not new to the earth. Lightning strikes ignited dry grasslands. Volcanic activity sent flames across landscapes. Wildfires moved like living creatures, consuming everything in their path. To animals, fire was terror. To most living beings, it was something to flee from immediately. Early humans were no different at first. Fire burned, destroyed, and killed. It separated life from death in seconds. But unlike other creatures, humans did not only react, they observed. At a safe distance, they watched flames dance and shift. They noticed how predators avoided it. They felt its warmth against cold air. They saw darkness retreat before its glow. Slowly, cautiously, an idea began to form, not fully articulated, not consciously understood, but sensed at a primal level. Fire was dangerous, but it was also powerful. The decision that followed was not simple, it was not obvious. To approach fire was to challenge instinct. Fear had protected early humans for generations. Ignoring fear could mean extinction. Yet at some point, someone stayed instead of running. Someone watched longer. Someone reached closer. That moment was not heroic in the way modern stories imagine heroism. There was no triumph, no celebration. There was hesitation, trembling hands, racing hearts. But there was also choice. A choice to engage rather than flee. A choice to learn rather than forget. A choice to remember fire, not just escape it. This decision changed everything. By learning to preserve and control fire, early humans altered their relationship with the natural world. Fire extended the day, allowing activity after sunset. It created safe spaces where predators hesitated to approach. It provided warmth in colder climates, opening migration routes that were previously impossible. With fire, humans were no longer limited to the narrow zones where survival was easiest. Food, too, was transformed. Cooking softened tough plants and meat, making nutrients more accessible. Calories became easier to extract. Energy that once went into digestion could now support brain growth. Slowly, over countless generations, bodies and minds adapted to this new way of living. Fire did not just change what humans eat, it changed what humans became. Around the glow of fire, something else emerged: time. Not measured by shadows or hunger, but shared. Groups gathered closer, faces became visible in the dark, expressions could be seen, sounds carried differently at night, Communication deepened, gestures turned into meaning, meaning turned into stories. Fire became a social center. It shaped bonds, hierarchies, and cooperation. It demanded responsibility. A flame left unattended could destroy everything. Fire required care, memory, and teaching. Knowledge had to be passed down. This was not instinct anymore. This was culture. Children learned not only by watching nature, but by watching elders, how to feed the fire, how to protect it from wind and rain, how to carry embers across distances. These lessons mattered. Forgetting them meant losing warmth, safety, and survival itself. With fire, humans began to alter environments rather than simply endure them. Grasslands were cleared, animals were driven strategically. The balance between humans and nature shifted, not dramatically at first, but inevitably. Fire also changed how humans thought about the future. Planning became possible. Resources could be preserved, meat could be dried and protected, camps could be returned to. The idea of permanence slowly took root. Humans were no longer only reacting to the present moment, they were preparing for what came next. This shift was subtle but profound. It laid the foundation for imagination, for foresight, for the concept of tomorrow. As humans spread across continents, fire traveled with them. It allowed survival in ice-bound regions and dense forests. It adapted with different fuels, techniques, and rituals. Fire became more than a tool. It became a symbol, a boundary between the human world and the wild. Across cultures and eras, fire would later represent life, knowledge, transformation, and even the divine. But its origin was simpler and more fragile. It began with fear, curiosity, and a decision made by beings who did not know what they were starting. The control of fire did not make humans dominant overnight. It did not remove danger or suffering, but it shifted the trajectory of our species. It accelerated evolution in ways no single biological mutation ever could. Fire became a force multiplier, amplifying intelligence, cooperation, and adaptability. It is important to understand that this decision was not inevitable. Other species encountered fire and fled. Early humans could have done the same forever. Survival did not require mastery, it required avoidance. But humanity chose engagement. That choice echoes through every moment of modern life. Cities glow at night because fire once kept predators away. Technology runs on energy because fire taught humans how to harness power. Civilization itself is built on controlled reactions, on transforming raw materials into something useful. The logic of fire lives on in engines, electricity, and industry. Yet at its core, the decision was emotional as much as practical. Fire reduced fear of the dark. It created comfort in an indifferent world. It allowed early humans to feel, perhaps for the first time, that nature was not entirely beyond influence. This sense of agency changed how humans saw themselves. They were no longer just animals among animals, they were participants in shaping their own survival. That belief would grow, evolve, and sometimes become dangerous, but it began here, beside a fragile flame. There is a quiet irony in this story. Fire, which would later become a symbol of destruction and warfare, began as a tool of protection and connection. It gathered people rather than dividing them. It illuminated faces rather than casting shadows. Its earliest role was not violence, but survival. When we look back across millions of years, it is tempting to search for dramatic turning points, battles, inventions, revolutions, but the most important moments are often silent. They leave no monuments. They happen in fear, uncertainty, and choice. The decision to stay with fire was one of those moments. It did not announce itself as destiny. It did not promise greatness. It simply offered possibility. And early humans, fragile and uncertain, accepted that possibility. In doing so, they stepped onto a path that would lead to art, science, language, and exploration, a path that would eventually reach beyond Earth itself, all from a flame that once flickered in the darkness of a prehistoric night. Humanity is often defined by its intelligence, its creativity, or its ambition, but beneath all of that lies a deeper trait: the willingness to approach what is dangerous, to learn rather than flee, and to transform fear into understanding. That trait was forged long before history began. And it began with fire.